Please, let's continue the live from here. We're disconnected from the previous live. So we're in Genesis chapter 16, and we've seen how Sarai has told her husband Abram that she wants to give her maid to him so that he could sleep with the maid, Hagar, and whichever child Hagar bears will be hers. Okay. And we see that at verse 2 says, and Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. Let us not be people who are easily influenced. Let us not be people who easily yield, bend to peer pressure. Let us be people who can stand our ground, no matter who is involved. Okay? Abraham should not have hearkened to the voice of Sarai. He should not have agreed to it. Should not have agreed. And mind you, Abraham didn't even ask the Lord. Didn't even ask the Lord. He just agreed, and we're told that he went in unto Hagar, slept with Hagar, and Hagar conceived. Okay? And now we're told in verse 4 that when Hagar saw that she had conceived, see how mistress Sarai was despised in her eyes. She began to look down on her mistress Sarai. Okay. She now, since she was now pregnant, she now felt like she had the upper hand. She was now the madam of the house. So Sarah Sarah had to now be under her. Okay. And that for me, that was bad of Hagar. You know, we should learn not to abuse privilege. We should learn not to abuse privilege. Okay. Let us not abuse privilege. If you are put in a place, if someone gives you a privilege, do not abuse it. Okay? Do not abuse it. You see that Hagar began to despise Sarah. She forgot that she was a maid. So because she was pregnant, perhaps she began to speak to Sarah however she liked. Okay. Perhaps Sarah would ask her to do something and she would refuse to do it, you know. And I can only imagine how that must have made Sarah to feel. Okay. Sarah must have felt very bad. And so she went to Abraham, her husband, you know, and complained to him. And Abraham told her, I said, she's your maid, she's in your hands. Whatever you want to do to her, do to her. Okay. Whatever you want to do to her, do to her. We're reading the Holy Bible. Okay? The Holy Bible, Genesis chapter 16, in the Old Testament. So Abraham said to his wife Sarah, I said, she's your maid. Whatever you want to do to her, do to her. You're free. And then Sarah now began to deal hardly with Hagar. Sarah now began to show Hagar that she is the one in charge. She is the wife of the house. She is the mistress of the house. Okay. And Hagar could not bear the heat. So she ran away. And that's why I said that we should not abuse privilege. We should not abuse privilege. Okay? When we abuse privilege, there is a tendency that privilege could be taken from us. That privilege could be taken from us. God Himself does not support that. That it's a bad character. Okay, it is bad. Sarah, I don't think Sarah was a bad woman. Okay? I don't think Sarah had been treating Hagar badly. So there was no reason why Hagar should begin to despise Sarah simply because she was pregnant now. Okay. That was very bad of Hagar. So when Sarah began to deal hardly with her, began to show her who is in charge of the house, Hagar could not bear it, and she ran away. And then she was in the wilderness when an angel found her by a fountain of water. And he asked her, said, Hagar, where are you coming from and where are you going? And she said, I'm running away from my mistress. Okay? And the angel of the Lord told her something in verse 9. He said, return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hands. Say, return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hands. So we see that God himself does not support evil. So don't think that you can do evil and God will support you. No, God does not support evil. Because what Hagar did was evil. It was bad. Okay, it was bad. This was a mistress who had been good to her, who had treated her well. There is no reason despising her simply because you had the privilege of getting pregnant for her husband. Okay, there's no reason despising her. That was basically biting the finger that fed her. So the Lord himself was not in support of it. And the angel told her, say, return to your mistress and submit yourself to her. Don't try to usurp authority. Some people, the moment you give them a little privilege, they want to usurp your authority. They want to oust you and take your place. And that is a bad trait. There are people like that. Okay, apart from Hagar now, there are people like that who, if you give them a little privilege, okay, you're helping them. Give them a little privilege. The next thing they are thinking about is how to oust you from your position and take your place. Okay, and that is bad. It is a wicked spirit. Okay, so Hagar was asked to go back and submit herself to Sarah. And then the angel of the Lord told her, he said, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. Okay, I'll multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. Now, there's a reason for this. Hagar was told that, remember, Hagar was pregnant for Abraham. And the angel was telling her, I will multiply, your seed will be so plenty, so plenteous that they cannot be numbered. And the reason for this was because the seed she was carrying was Abraham's. The child she was carrying was Abraham's seed. And remember, the Lord has promised Abraham that he will multiply his seed. When the Lord made this promise to Abraham, he was referring to Isaac, but the blessing was on Abraham. And so any seed that came from Abraham benefited from that blessing. The child Hagar was carrying, Ishmael, was not part of God's plan. That was Abraham and Sarah bringing in their own, trying to help God. That was not part of God's plan. That was not who God was referring to when he spoke about Abraham's seed. Okay? When God told Abraham, I will multiply your seed exceedingly, he was speaking about Isaac, Abraham's lineage through Isaac. But the blessing was on Abraham. And so, even an illegitimate child of Abraham. Because that was Abraham's seed, that child benefited from that blessing. So do we see that is the power of God's blessing. Okay, that is and we know that there's a particular religious there's a particular religion that is descended from Ishmael. Okay, that is descended from Ishmael. That is the son of Hagar. And indeed, they are too numerous to count. Okay, the seed from Isaac is also numerous. Even the Gentiles who have been grafted into the house of Abraham are part of that seed of Abraham. But even the children, the sons of the bondwoman, are also plenteous, too numerous to count, because that blessing was on Abraham. Okay? And then the angel in verse 11 told her that she was pregnant and she will bear a son, and she should call the son's name Ishmael. And he said, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. Because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. Now, one thing I want to say is, God sees the full picture of a matter. Okay? God sees the full picture of a matter. As human beings, we only see a matter from a biased perspective. Okay? It is nearly impossible for us to see any matter, the full picture of any matter, because we cannot see in secret. It is only God who sees in secret. Okay, so I'd say it is impossible as humans for us to see the full picture of a matter, because we do not see in secret, because we do not see the heart. So sometimes, even when we think we've seen the full picture, because we cannot see the heart, we haven't really seen the full picture. Because we cannot see in secret, because we cannot hear the secret words spoken, we have not seen the full picture. But God sees all. And so he sees the full picture of every matter. Now the angel was telling her, say, you will call your son's name Ishmael, because God has heard your affliction. That means that Hagar herself had gone through affliction. Like I said, God sees the full picture of a matter. One thing I also want to say is that in a way, Hagar herself was also a victim. Because here she was a maid, and she was forced to sleep with her mistress's husband, whether or not it was what she wanted. Her preference, her what's the word? Her will, her free will was not taken into consideration. What if now Abraham had lots and lots and lots of servants? What if Hagar had a boyfriend among one of the servants? What if she had someone she loved among one of the servants? What if she was seeing someone? Okay, so she was forced, because she was a maid. She had no say in the matter. Okay, so she was compelled to sleep with her mistress's husband. So in a way, she was also a victim. And what I also want to say is, now Sarah said that Hagar began to despise her when Hagar knew that she was pregnant. But that is what Sarah said, and that is Sarah's own perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean that was exactly how it was. Okay, I'm not trying to say that Sarah was lying or that the Bible is not correct. No, I'm trying to say that now this was written from Sarah's perspective. Because one thing about human beings is that human beings, we act and we perceive things based on biases. Okay, based on our biases. So now Sarah had seen Hagar pregnant. That in itself may have stirred up something in Sarah, maybe a certain level of envy, a certain level of envy. I'm not saying that is what it was, that is how it was. I'm just saying. Okay, and at that, one such a feeling is there. Whatever that person does will be interpreted through the lens of that feeling. I don't know if you get my point. Now, if Sarah has maybe Hagar is pregnant now. Sarah has found out Hagar is pregnant. Maybe, of course, it's a normal part. It's a normal part of being human to feel a little envious, So maybe that tiny little feeling of envy had been aroused in Sarah's heart. Now, let's say Hagar now. Remember, Hagar was a maid, yes. But when a woman is pregnant, pregnancy affects different women differently. Okay, pregnancy affects different women differently. So we don't know how it was with Hagar. So perhaps, let's say Sarah says, go wash my clothes. And Hagar, perhaps, the pregnancy hormones and everything is just not. And Hagar says, I don't know how I'm feeling. I don't think I like how I'm feeling. I don't know how I feel right now. Can I wash them later when I feel a little better? Now, if Sarah has already had a little feeling of envy in her heart, and Hagar says that to her, she will interpret it as Hagar despising her, not wanting to submit to her. Okay, so that's why I said that it is only God who sees the full picture of every matter. Because the angel told us, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. That means she herself was afflicted. Okay, that means she herself. So we don't know what Hagar herself may have gone through. I don't think Sarah was a bad woman. No, I don't think so. Okay, I don't think Sarah was a bad woman. Okay, but she was human. Okay, but she was human. So, but the Lord who sees in secret, the Lord who sees the full picture of every matter, told Hagar, said, the Lord has heard, the angel told Hagar, the Lord has heard your affliction. So while God was not necessarily in support of Hagar running away from her mistress, and perhaps Hagar herself may have also grown haughty, grown proud, and felt like, because I'm pregnant now, so no one can talk to me anymore. Because I'm pregnant now, I don't have to be a maid anymore. I don't have to do my duties as a maid anymore. Because I'm pregnant, I mean, Sarah has no child. I'm obviously going to give birth to the first child for Abraham. So nobody can talk to me. No one is supposed to. So we don't know. Perhaps Hagar herself grew haughty, and perhaps Sarah herself may have misinterpreted certain actions of Hagar's to mean to be that Hagar despised her, even though it might not have been the case. So the Lord, who saw the full picture, told Hagar, return to your mistress. Submit yourself to her. You will bear a son. You will call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. We need to know this. I don't know who needs to hear this tonight, but hear this. Whatever it is you're going through, whatever affliction you're currently facing, the Lord sees. He knows. Perhaps you're in a situation where You are misunderstood. Perhaps you're in a situation where your actions are misrepresented, misinterpreted, and you are being tortured, you are being punished. Okay, you are being dealt harshly with. The Lord sees you. He hears you. He will come through for you. Okay, He hears your affliction, just like He heard Hagar's affliction. Okay, so hold on tight, because God hears your affliction. And then in verse 12, the angel told her that her son Ishmael will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand will be against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And we're told in verses 13 and 14, that she called the name of the place. Okay, that she called the name of the Lord, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? Verse 17. So wherefore the well was called Bela-Hairoi, because it is between, behold, it is between, so there she gave God a name, El Roi, the God who sees me. The God who sees me. And this name, I believe, was born out of, it came from somewhere. Because we don't know what she must have gone through. Okay, we don't know what she must have gone through. She was a victim in a way, because she was just a maid, a slave. She was an Egyptian. She was part of the bride price that Pharaoh gave to Abraham, okay, for Sarah. When Abraham went to Egypt with his wife Sarah because of the famine, and he lied to Pharaoh that Sarah was his sister, and Pharaoh wanted to marry Sarah. And remember that we said that Pharaoh gave Abraham lots of things: maid servants, men servants, cattle, oxen, name it, gold, silver, and all of that. So Hagar was one of the maid servants that Pharaoh gave to Abraham as bride price for Sarah. Okay, so that is how Hagar came to be in the house of Abraham. So she was just a maid. So she was basically, how do I put this now? She was basically used, if I'll put it that way. She was basically used. Okay, she was used. She was at the mercy of her master and her mistress. Okay, so God saw her. God saw her heart. He saw what she was going through. He saw her secret tears, her secret pain. And that day she gave him a name. Said, El Roi, the God who sees me. I don't know what it is we're going through. What it is that we might be going through. The secret tears. I don't know that problem that makes us to shed secret tears. That makes us to wet our pillows at night with our tears. We come outside, we smile, we laugh with everyone. But in our secret place, we weep. We can't sleep at night. All we do is cry. And it seems like no one knows what we're going through. No one sees what we're going through. There is a God who sees. There is a God who sees. He knows you more than you know yourself. He sees the secret tears that you shed. He sees that ache in your heart, that pain in your heart that you cannot communicate to anyone. He sees it. When you cry in pain from that illness, from that sickness, from that disease, He knows exactly how you feel. You might think no one does, but He does. He sees. The Bible says we do not serve a high priest that cannot be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. He is touched. He is pained when you're pained. He is sad when you're sad. He sees you. He knows what you're going through. He knows. He understands. He sees your pain. He sees your fear. He sees your shame, your guilt. He sees it all. He sees your tears. He sees. And that God will come through for you. I don't know what it is. I don't know that area where you need Him to come through for you. Perhaps you've received a negative doctor's report and you're gripped by fear. Perhaps the doctors have given you a time frame, okay, in which you're to prepare your house, put your house in order. Perhaps you have lost a loved one and are consumed by grief. Perhaps you're in the depths of shame and guilt. The shame and guilt makes you to you're considering ending it all because you cannot afford to go on living with the shame and with the guilt. Whatever it is, perhaps you are plagued by sickness, by a disease, and you're in pain. You cry out in pain. Everyone around you tells you, oh, take it easy, sorry. But they can't understand how you feel. They don't feel the pain that you feel. Whatever your situation is, God sees you. He's the El Roi, the God who sees. He will come through for you. As He did for Hagar, He will come through for you. He's a God who does not forsake the forsaken. He's a God who does not reject the rejected. The despised. He does not despise the despised. That God will come through for you. He will take care of that situation. He will handle it. He will turn it around for your favor, for your good.